Whoa. Haha, that was close. Hey, everyone. Welcome to the Halloween edition of ThursdAI for October 30th. My name is Alex Volkov. I'm an AI evangelist with weights and biases, and I'm very excited to bring you the show this week because this week there's been just an incredible amount of updates around all aspects of AI, from open source to OpenAI restructuring to scary fast agents. We're going to have a very spooky, scary Halloween, including the potential addition of robots in your house with the new humanoid robots that we saw that was announced. And so to help me cover this, we have our friends here. Let me add them to the stage. Happy Halloween.
What's happening? You look great, Alex. Wow.
Thank you. I've been working on my looking great, so I appreciate you calling. Yes, today was my daughter's son's Halloween parade, and so I went and joined that, and I had to look apart, and then I decided this is Halloween. This is the third Halloween we're doing, by the way, so we're going to have a replacement Alex at some point actually deliver some of the news to you. Hopefully that will be ready in a minute. But meanwhile, wanted to chime in with you folks and ask, first of all, how are you? But also, I think the most important thing is, what is the one thing, and I insist, Yam, I know you have many things always, about AI this week that we must absolutely talk about that blew your mind and people cannot ignore. I would say Yam first and then Ryan.
MiniMax drop a bomb. Like, seriously. An open weight model that is, I don't know, the best we saw. And quite interesting architecture, actually.
I have a Halloween surprise for you.
Let's go.
We have in the studio with us Skyler, who is working on MiniMax from Hulu.
Really?
And we're going to add Skyler in a minute, folks. So please stay with us to have a conversation about MiniMax because I think it is a banger. It is a big one for sure. We're going to have to do the TLDR first. So folks, you're going to have to wait for this. But Skyler is going to join us in just a minute to talk about MiniMax from Hailio. I always say Hailio, and I think I'm saying this incorrectly. Ryan, what about you? What's your one main big update this week?
Cursor 2.0 is a pretty big deal. Yes, I love AMP. It's fascinating. And I think the more meta thing that's interesting is their composer model. I think we're seeing the rise of agent labs ship their own models. And I think this is a good thing. I cheer them on. Even though we compete, I'm cheering them on.
Yeah. And Cursor 2.0 launched this week, including a full rebrand. Not a rebrand, but re-evaluation of their AI, agentic-wise, that now Cursor and Atlas look the same. I found it very interesting. The Cursor now is like the big prompt and saying, hey, what do you want to do? And basically like multiple agents running. Yeah. My big thing this week, by the way, was the OpenAI live stream with Sam Altman and Jakub and Wojciech, who is also a co-founder of Wojciech. And I think that live stream flew above people's heads, folks. They dropped so many just bombs in this live stream. And because it was live, it wasn't on YouTube, it wasn't transcribed, there was so many things. I went out of my way to find a way to download that live stream. It's really good at not making that possible. Transcribed it, and I will bring some of the updates here to you. One of them is their chief scientist, Jakob, who replaced Ilya after Ilya parted for SSI, thinks that ASI is achievable within a decade. ASI, not AGI. They also talked about an autonomous research engineer by March of 2028. Fully autonomous research engineer, the likes of which OpenAI pays north of $500,000 to a year to just do their stuff. So basically, they dropped a lot of stuff. Oh, Sam Altman talked about $1.4 trillion commitment to energy. And I was like, where's the other 400 billion come from? We accounted only 1 trillion so far with Starlink and the NVIDIA deal. A lot of stuff in there. Just a lot of stuff in there. It was a dense live stream. They also answered a bunch of questions that they took from the audience. This was probably my highlight of the week because it's insane. Obviously, OpenAI also finished their recapitalization, the non-profit versus the profit. This was mine. Alrighty, folks, time for a TLDR. And then we're going to get to a conversation about MiniMax M2 with Skyler Miao from the MiniMax team and a bunch of other Halloween stuff, just a lot of stuff. Humanoids, self-driving cars. There's so much every week. Folks, let's go to TLDR. All right, here's it. Here's the TLDR for ThursdAI for this week. Here's everything we're going to talk about. We're going to run through this super quick so you know all of the stuff that we're going to mention, and then you will be up to date, even if you don't follow the rest of the show, where we're going to have a lot of folks. All right, let's start with open source LLMs, folks. Obviously, MiniMax M2 from Halio AI is the new king. Ryan, I don't know when was the last time we had the new open source king, but it is here right now. And it's a agentic model, 8% of Claude's price with twice the speed and the same pretty much performance in open source. This is crazy. This is like Sonnet at home pretty much. OpenAI, folks. OpenAI brought us another open source model. This is crazy. So OpenAI open sourced GPT OSS Safeguard, and this one is the first open weight safety reasoning from OpenAI from classification. There has been other guardrail models, but OpenAI has fine-tuned their GPT OSS models for safety and specific things. So that's great. We also had IBM Granite, and Granite is like a whole series of models, and this series of models has been great. These ones are nano. These ones like tiny models. I think one of them is like 300 milli, and Artificial Analysis tested them. One of them is 350 million. When Nistin's gonna get here, he's gonna tell you this runs on a toaster, this runs on an AirPod, this runs everywhere. So we're going to cover that a little bit. Ming Flash released. Ming is the third model from these folks. We covered Ring before and Ling before, so this is getting interesting. This one is an Omni model. This one, like Omni model, like understands video, understands images on exit, and I think this one also does image outputs as well. So that's going to be very interesting. The first, for the longest time, we will cover robotics, and folks, this is it. This is where a ton of people now are on our timelines getting this robot. This is a humanoid robot. I think we covered this previously. It's a very tiny one. It weighs only like 66 pounds. It's 1X Neo, and the pre-order is available right now. You can get this humanoid robot in your home probably by March, as far as they promised. They had a keynote. They had a bunch of people. It's teleoperated. There's a whole conversation that we have to do there. This is the spooky stuff on Halloween. This is the robot that Okay, let me zoom in here. Let me zoom in and talk to you directly. Folks, here's my prediction. Within a year from this Halloween, next Halloween, we'll have a bunch of these robots and robots from other companies dressed up as Halloween puppets, like helping folks in their house. I'm hoping that I will also by then have one of my own. So we're going to chat about the 1X Neo and what this means to be able to pre-order a humanoid robot to your home in the end of 2025. Ryan, you want to help me cover this big companies segment?
So the OpenAI recapitalization is like fascinating because everyone is up in arms about, is it a not-for-profit? Is it for-profit? How does this work? And they recap the company and change the structure, and here comes ASI. So fascinating, and it's going to be a very valuable company. So Here we go. And all of our friends at OpenAI are very happy about their options.
Yes, sir.
And next up, Cursor 2.0 is a big deal. And the new composer model is very exciting to see the Agent Labs training, releasing their own models, getting us out from underneath the boot of the big labs. So I think this is, and I've tried it. It's very fast, and honestly, it's good. Excited about that. And then we saw Cognition come right in and punch right back with Suite 1.5, and it looks very good. So this is good for all of us, y'all. We want this competition. We don't want to be restricted to the big smart models from the big labs.
The highlight there for me was both of these releases same day yesterday. Cursor started the day with Cursor 2.0 and then Composer and their own model for the first time. I think they're releasing their own model. And then boom, Cognition, probably not sure if they scheduled it for that day. And they probably rushed their marketing team and said, hey, we're ready. Let's go. Let's release this. And it's powered by Cerebro. So it's like super duper fast. In this week's Buzz, the category where I talk about everything weights and biases and CoreWeave related, I only had these notes because there's some announcement from today that we haven't talked about. So obviously, Fully Connected in London is coming up next week. The one in Japan is happening tomorrow. So if you're in Japan, hey, hi, hello. But if you're going to London, please join us on fullyconnected.com. And if you need tickets, please let me know. We're also going to AI Engineer Code Summit in NY, and we're sponsoring, and we would love to see you there. Come to our booth. And the news that we buried and we now can talk about, CoreWeave has announced another acquisition of Marimo Notebooks. This is a new, super exciting company, and looking forward to tell you all about this. CoreWeave acquires Marimo. If you've noticed, we're announcing around one acquisition a month lately. So that's super, super exciting because we're building out the essential cloud for AI, and I would love to tell you about this. Vision and video has not been quiet. Odyssey ML launched the V2, a real-time interactive AI video. And when I say real-time interactive, I mean it. Like, you can go in there, and we'll definitely do this demo. You go in there, you basically type whatever you want in a prompt, the video starts streaming, and then you can live change the video. The video will adjust live to whatever you're typing. It's nuts, honestly. It's nuts. I recorded the video on this, and I will definitely show this here as well. We have updates from Sora. Sora character cameos is here. Leaderboards are here as well. Character cameos basically allow you to add your pets, which I prompted it, and also whatever pumpkin your kids carved, you can add that as a cameo, so then everybody else can use this as a character. It's really cool as a concept.
How is your Sora influencer campaign going?
I'm working on this. I think I'm inching toward 3,000 followers. Some people tag me. I'll give you an update after the TLDR. But also, Sora is invite free. That's it. You can just download Sora. If you waited for an invite, we gave out invites here. But Sora is invite free in US and Japan, and it's growing like crazy. And also from the same folks from MiniMax, they are known for their Helio. I think this is how to pronounce it. We're going to ask Skyler in a second. Helio released Helio 2.3, which is an update to their video model, cinematic, professional grade, fast version as well. They are all over the place. So I'm very happy to have Skyler here because MiniMax Speech also launched, and it's 2.6. For longest time, this to me was the best hidden kind of speech model. The one that closest matches my audio, and the one that like is cheaper. So they're presenting ultra human voice AI. I need to clone my voice once again to test it. And I think the biggest news, not the biggest news, but like definitely the biggest news, Cartesia launched Sonic-3, including $100 million investment. We talked to you about Cartesia back in June of last year. Cartesia is going to join us and talk to us how the hell they're getting their voice generation in 50 milliseconds. 50 milli. This is faster than you blink. I think they say 49. Once you click, the voice starts streaming. It's really crazy. And so we're going to chat about this for sure because I think it's crazy. And it sounds really good as well. They gave me some credits to like voice clone my voice with their pro version. And it's nuts. Honestly, it's nuts. I think that's pretty much it in voice and audio. And we have some tools. Poki, we told you about Poki last week with their research agent. They launched something called Agentic Workflow Builder. And this tool from Google is really cool. It's like an ad creator for it's called Pomeli. AI marketing agent, targets brands analysis and campaigns. So you send it to a website and it analyzes the website, and it's pretty cool. Folks, this is it. I think anything else here? Or should we just jump? All right, let's jump to open source. Our favorite corner, and plus an interview with Skyler from MiniMax. Let's go open source. And for that, we have Skyler here from the MiniMax team. Skyler, how about you introduce yourself first to the folks, and then we're going to talk about the announcement that you guys released this week, at least one of them.
Hi, Alex, and hi, everyone. I'm Skyler Miao. I'm the head of engineering at MiniMax, our team in charge of the product development, like MiniMax Agent, Hello Video, and MiniMax Audio. Yeah, also the API platform. And what's more, we are also took part in the M2 post-training, especially in the code and the agent capabilities. It's really nice to meet you. Actually, I'm a typical engineer. Being on a podcast is a really new thing for me, first time for me.
You're going to do great, man. I promise you're going to do great. I already hear that you're going to do great. So first of all, congrats on the releases. There's 3 releases on our weekly update show. So all of the 3 that you guys released was released this week. We're going to obviously talk about MiniMax M2 because we're in the open source LLMs kind of segment of our show. But it's great to hear from you that you're also involved in the video model because we've covered the video model multiple times, and the update there was released, I think, 2.3. And we also MiniMax Speech, which I used for a long time. First question for you is, how do you pronounce the company name? Haulio? Like, what's the actual pronunciation?
Oh, MiniMax is our company name.
So what is Helio or Holio? Is that just like a product?
I will pronounce it as a Hai Luo. Hai means sea, and the Luo means share in Chinese.
I see. Okay, so Hai Luo. And that is a brand thing, but you guys are going by MiniMax, and M2 is the main announcement. Yeah. Could you tell us about what is M2 and why are we excited about this?
Okay, as you have mentioned, M2 has met the top 5 model. Yeah, so it surpassed Opus 4.1 and is just a little behind the Sonnet 4.5. And from the LM Arena, they will release soon. Our performance on web dev is surpassed the Sonnet 4.5. Maybe they will release, but actually it's just 8% the price of the Sonnet and twice speed. And it's all open sourced. And actually, you may know it's now the 5th most called model on the open router today. And actually, it's the first in the Hugging Face trending. And why we build this model, I think because we used a lot of agent in our company as well. We are not only building the AI model, we also want to build an AI native company. And actually, we can't live with agent in our job today. Even our HR team, they are sourcing potential candidates with agents. And we find what we call is there is an impossible triangle in available models. It's performance, cost, and the speed. You can maybe have only 2. For example, Sonnet experience, but it's too expensive to common people to afford it. But for the other models, like open source models, they may be cheaper, but their performance wasn't there, especially in our internal use. It's industry requirement. So we guess they should be a model can resolve these problems. Then we trained M2. I don't know if this answers your questions.
Yeah, no, this absolutely answers my question. This is great. The thing that we, first of all, congratulate you guys released, this is Apache 2, right? Apache 2 license, open source?
Yeah, it's all open source, and the license is yeah.
So congratulations on topping the open source leaderboards in the model. This is absolutely stunning. Like we're seeing I think it's 5th overall on artificial analysis, right?
Yeah.
Just behind Claude 4.5 Sonnet. As well, artificial analysis does this intelligence index, which like has 10 evals like MMLE Pro, GPQA Diamond, Humanities Last Exam, and even Tau Bench. And you guys have all of these things in the evals here that you posted, and you were in charge of some of the post training for this. And this is not your first model, right? MiniMax M1 obviously was there, also was a great model. Could you talk about a little bit of like what went into achieving this? The size, we should probably mention the size. Like it's only 200 billion parameters, so it's smaller by 3 times than DeepSeek R1, for example. It's smaller than the bigger Quen, but also it's an MOE and only 10 billion active. Is that correct?
10 billion active. We designed it.
Yeah, so this is a very unique design that we see, like a high ratio. Could you just speak about the MOE approach and how you're achieving this much with only 200 billion parameters?
Yeah, okay. First of all, I'm an engineer, not a researcher, so I'm not an expert. I can just talk about this in my side. At the very beginning, we designed M2. We think we could achieve the performance of Sonnet with 10% of its price. Actually, we did it. That's what was our insight. That's what our algorithm team discussed and researched for a long time. We think all the models on the market, we think it's not the best for the agentic tasks because not just the price, even the speed. As you all know, typical agentic tasks maybe run for 20, 30, maybe more runs. So if the TPS is low, it will take a long time and it will lower the efficiency. You have to wait for a long time for the job to be done. We do a lot of experiment in our pre-train. Compared to M1, we do a lot of job. We almost reconstruct the pre-train data to make it higher quality and even more data compared to M1. So I think this may be the most important point, and one of the most important point, the quality of the pre-train. We see that it's just used, I think half the data, its performance in our internal benchmark has exceeded M1. It's very important. The second one is our post-train. For example, in the web dev, we deeply involve our senior frontier engineer, and we design the task, design the data, design how we produce the thinking content to combine it. And we also design the reinforcement learning reward. Overall, I think it's a really important insight that we think we could find a sweet spot in the triangle that we can get brilliant performance, but with a lower cost and a fast speed. And we actually made it. And what I want to mention more is, I think it's about our vision of our company. Our slogan is intelligence with everyone. We want our model can be accessible and affordable for all the people, not just a very expensive one.
This is great, dude. Thank you so much for covering this. And like we obviously are very excited about you guys' commitment to open source, at least in the LLMs. The video stuff, I think it's proprietary, and then the voice stuff is definitely not. I haven't seen open source, but the LLM stuff is an open source. It's an open weight model, 100 TPS throughput on your servers, and it's possible to host it on something 4 H100s I saw at FP8 precision. Let's talk about context length. If you can address this, it's 200,000 tokens per prompt, and previously, like the big thing about M1, I think, was 1 million context length. Could you speak as to why? Was that like a conscious decision?
Okay. I think the most important topic on the question is linear attention and context length. I think first of all, in the agent task, we found we can use memory to avoid the context problem, just like Sonic do, and the performance will be the most important thing. And I think we will extend to 1 million contexts in the future, but we choose to get a better performance first. And it's about the choice between lightning attention, linear attention, and full attention. And we have a tech blog about it. In short of it is that in the small size experiment, you can hard to find some minor but important problems for the linear attention. So as the computer power is going up, we think the most important thing is give people best performance and cost efficiency model.
So go ahead.
Yeah, we've seen with the mixture of expert models, it allows for continual training as you go along. And with code data, as you get better and better code, it often becomes nicer to continually train the model. Is that something you guys are planning to continue doing? Because this is, for example, what we saw from DeepSeek and so on. And do you find it easier with the mixture of experts models versus the MOEs to do this, or is it a lot harder? I think people find training MOEs quite a bit harder these days. Have those been figured out yet?
Yeah, let me make sure I understand your questions. Are you asking the training MOE model, is it difficult?
We've seen companies that they release an MOE and it makes it easier sometimes to continue to release updated versions or fixes as you go on. Do you find this architecture good for that? And do you plan to do that?
First off, MOE, I think it's a mature architect for us. Actually, we have trained MOE architects since almost 2 years ago. So I think it's a mature architect for us, and our infrastructure and our algorithm team were really familiar with it. And we were going to continue training the MOE. We think it will enhance the performance of the model, especially if you do some things like reinforcement learning. I do think it will improve the performance in the field you want to improve. Actually, we are working hard on M2.1 version, and we hope to release in a few months.
Speaking of the next model, Skyler, the way that I found you, you were very active on Twitter while people tried the M2 model, and I saw a bunch of threads being very active. So first of all, the community, always great to have folks like you just from actual the engineering team going and helping people and seeing what they do. And also you guys released support for both the Anthropic API and also the OpenAI completions API, but not responses API. And I saw you talk about the difference between the two, and I saw you talk about the difference in the context of how the model actually behaves in between those different APIs. Could you speak about this a little bit? Because I think some people may have tried them too, and they noticed that the performance is not that great because of the different responses. Could you speak about this to clarify this for folks who do want to try? What's the best way to try this model?
Okay. It's a complex situation. The problem is simple. I think people got to know interleaved thinking from Sonnet 4 is the most important feature of this model, and it enhances a lot of its performance compared to Sonnet 3.7. And it means every time the model responds with a two core, it also with a thinking. So it's somehow the inference time scaling. It uses more test time computer powers. It actually important for the multi-round reasoning and the complex tasks.
Model itself at the next step,
Yeah.
when you ask it, it's important for it to receive what the user asks, plus it's thinking tokens themselves, right? The reasoning tokens.
Yeah. Like the model search first, and then it can think from the result of the searching and decide what to do next. It can think, or it can see what it has been thinking. It will significantly influence the performance of the model across all the thinking models, including Sonnet, including GPT-5. I think that's the base of all the discussing. But now in the community, the apps didn't support the thinking, as we found out this week, and we are surprised. A lot of coding tools like LuCode, KiloCode, they implement the Anthropic API without thinking passed by. So I think they don't really use the Sonnet 5 points or performance. We have talked with them and they will support it. So that's why I talked many times on X that interleaved thinking is very important. We recommend the Anthropic API because OpenAI API, the chat completion API don't support thinking pass back. Yeah. It only supports in a responsive API, but the community, a lot of apps don't support it.
So the best way to test it out right now is via an API that passes back the thinking tokens. And you said the Anthropic API that you guys also support, which we saw also from the folks at Kimi. We see more and more labs releasing open source models, but also hosting on their servers and also supporting the Anthropic API. And it seems for agentic stuff, it's a little bit better. And it doesn't seem like anybody's picking up the responses API from OpenAI yet. They do pick up the completions API, which is standard, but not that great. Skyler, I want to say thank you so much for joining us. We need to move on, but we really appreciate you guys' releases. Just to make sure that I'm not missing two other releases that you guys also have. The video model was updated with like high realism and the fast model as well. And that looks great. So we're going to talk about this at the end of the show as well. And the audio model. Anything important you want to say about one of those two? I'm assuming that's also a crazy engineering challenge to serve a video model at scale and also an audio model. Anything important you want to mention about those two releases before we let you go?
I think you have mentioned the most important things. How we discussed in this version in the dynamic and complex realistic videos creation, and especially the complex movements and the different visual styles and the micro expressions. And we will also release several versions, I think, in the future, but I can't talk more. And I think we will have big versions later. And I think that's all I can say. And the speech model, I think it is actually the best speech model now. And a lot of our customers say that. And I think you have mentioned, or I want to say the latency and the ultra human voice.
Skyler, thank you so much for joining us. Should be aware of MiniMax M2, should give it a try. And thank you for sharing the best practices with us. Look forward to invite you guys back to the show once you guys release some more updates as well. You guys are now considered friends of the pod. Thank you for open sourcing as well. Cheers.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Alrighty, folks. Now we're going to move on and we're going to skip some of the open source stuff super quick. But first, reactions to M2 from the team here. And reactions to what Skyler just talked to us about.
The benchmarks they're pretty out there.
Yeah.
That's like the perfect architecture for something that you can run in a single H200 in 4-bit. You'd probably run it maybe like in 5-bit or something. It would be like the fastest, most intelligent thing that you could run on that GPU agentically as a single instance, because it only has 10 billion active parameters. You might even get like 15 tokens per second on the CPU.
Dude, we haven't seen this ratio that much. 200 billion model to 10 billion parameters.
Alex, we need this on Weave.
Yes.
But it's a very good architecture.
I had a feeling in the beginning of this week that this is going to be a banger, and I was right. And I was very happy to see Skyler come in here and talk to us about this. Ryan, any comments from the AMP team about these open source model? I know you guys are very selective about your models. Did you guys test it? Did you test it? What's going on?
Yes, all of us Agent Labs are very excited about these models, right? Because we are over the age of where you have one model selector for agents. That is irrelevant now. What is happening at the cutting edge is that every Agent Lab is choosing specific models, even for specific sub-agents. And so we use several of these. This is, again, putting the power back in the hands of the devs, right? So very excited about what's going on. We're just going to see more and more of this. We're eventually going to see these models fine-tuned and specified for specific frameworks and languages and workflows. So this is a big deal, and this is good for all of us.
100%. And while we're on the topic of open source, we now have breaking news that I just noticed just now. So I definitely want to hit this announcement super quick. AI breaking news coming at you only on Thursday. Our breaking news right now is that Kimi, Moonshot AI Kimi, that is very famous for their unique model called Kimi K2, just released a new model. And this model is called Kimi Linear 5.1. It's a 48 billion parameter, 3 billion parameter MOE. So they call it Kimi Linear. They did some adjustments there, but achieves 51% performance with similar speed and full attention. So significant speed ups at long sequence length. So it looks like they're innovating at the sequence length area. Context lengths of 1 million parameters. So Kimi Linear released the base model and an instruct model with only 3 billion active parameters. This looks kind of sick. Key features: delta attention. This is, I think, a new one. Kimi delta attention, KDA. Superior performance. Outperforms full attention in a variety of tasks, including long context and RL style benchmarks.
20 pages on archive at the middle on linear attention. We don't have time to read. I want to review this, but I'm like, okay, that's complex.
This is a lot.
You went for gated delta net, and okay, I want to know what I'm reviewing, but really cool. Seriously.
Yeah,
really
this
cool.
Literally just dropped 5 minutes ago, 10 minutes ago. We don't have time to talk about this because this week was insane. And we're in the business of covering the whole week and not just releases from this day. Even just yesterday was 5 releases. Unfortunately, as much as we're super excited, we'll have to test this out and talk to you guys about this model tomorrow. Maybe we'll bring some Kimi folks to talk about this next week. But 1 million context length with 3 billion parameters. Go ahead, listen.
Do they have any benchmarks? Can we quickly see?
I haven't seen posted benchmarks.
Okay, I will see. Oh, that's just a seller. Okay, this might be crazy.
Well, so this is breaking news from right now, folks. And then we're back to our updates about open source. Max M2 was the biggest one in open source for sure. The other big one was OpenAI's open source. Folks, did you see this? The OpenAI continued open sourcing. OpenAI dropped GPT OSS Safeguard, which is a fine tune of the GPT OSS models of 120 billion parameter and 20 billion parameter. They have focused their models on safeguard and guardrails, right? So if you want to use custom policies for your safeguards, for your LLMs to be safe, previously you had to build specific safeguard models that were fast enough to do some of these tasks with specific policies in mind. What they're claiming is because of these models, you can specify policies on the fly. You don't have to train models for these policies. And they show a significant performance boost on their internal modulation eval. Now, we should mention that
useful. Sorry, I keep interrupting, but this is so useful if you have actual customers. Now you can just fire up a Chinese model and put this little tiny 20B with 2B active parameters super fast too.
It will make it safe.
OpenAI to filter it.
I'm building a legal AI assistant, and this is going to be killer to verify citations and results.
If there's one thing that OpenAI knows how to do, it's how to censor stuff. So
if there's one thing that OpenAI knows how to do well, it's to censor stuff. And I think I even read on their blog post about this that they trained Sora is very good at censoring different outputs, etc. The models that are running are these models. So basically, this OSS safeguard has a policy iteration. It does chain of thought, and then it makes a policy decision based on the chain of thought, and then you can apply this policy. But look at these stats, folks. Look at these stats. These models are fine-tuned on their. This is an internal moderation eval. So OpenAI didn't share this eval with us from obvious reasons. They don't want to tell us which type of stuff they're evaluating. But on their internal stuff, their safety reasoner, which they don't expose to us, I think it's exposed at the API level, is getting like 52%, so getting half of the coverage of their eval. But the bigger one gets 46% on this benchmark, whereas the regular GPT-OSS, the base model this is fine-tuned from, gets only 32. So this is like a very significant jump in the ability to do moderation. You get simple guardrails. Obviously, a plug here with Weights and Biases Weave. We offer you to build your systems full of evals as much as possible, right? We also have the ability to give you guardrail. We haven't connected the two dots yet between the inference service and the guardrails, but we will definitely. And these are the type of models that we're definitely going to use because these are great models, absolutely great models. This is very important for actual builders of folks who are building and not just like coding with AI, who actually put stuff on production and care about customers. So shout out to OpenAI for this. And hey, who would have thunk it? OpenAI is going to be back on Hugging Face that soon after just like releasing these two models.
Presume people can get this served from CoreWeave.
Not today, but this presumption is generally the right presumption. I'm going to work really hard for us to test these models to also put them on the Weights and Biases inference with CoreWeave, because I think this is very important, but also because we have a guardrail product, so we will integrate those and we'll test them out. Super quick updates in the open source before we move on. IBM Granite 4.0 Nano. I don't know, Nissen, I thought you would be very excited about these models. Granite 4.0 350 million beats Gemma 3 1 billion in artificial analysis just by a little bit. So this is a model 3 times less the size, like 1/3 the size of the 1 billion. I think it's crazy of how tiny these models get. 4 is 1 billion, beats LFM, and Qwen 3 almost beats Qwen 3. But yeah, these are tiny models. We have covered Granite for a long time. They release a bunch of models. We don't have time to dive into them super quick.
There's just check out the Zenovus Josh's from Hugging Face, because these are the ideal ones to put on web GPU on the web as well. And he has a whole bunch of pages, so just XCNOVA on Twitter.
All right, folks, so we have to move on from open source. This segment is going to talk about robotics, folks. And this week, 1X, the company that's been in our radar for a while, I think we mentioned, they have this like little humanoid robot that only weighs 66 pounds. I think one of my kids weighs 66 pounds, Ryan. Fucking Tesla Optimus, when you walk to it, it's your height and size and probably can beat you up if it was that dexterous. 1X you can pick up and throw in the garbage if it misbehaves. This is the whole point. This robot, this humanoid robot, was announced with a wait list that you can purchase right now, and it only costs like $20,000, and they promise to have it in your home by next year, somewhere in March. That's insane. Obviously, we talk about humanoids are coming, folks, but have you seen the announcement? This robot, again, 66 pounds weight, 5 feet 6 inches, works on 4 hours, walks itself to the charging point and charges itself. Like the video shows him grabs the charging puck and attaches it to its belt, and it has a very soft body to actually focus on the fear that people have from robots, that it's not going to fall on you, on your kids or your pet or whatever, and it's very easy to pick up and beat up if you really want to, because it's not going to go all robot on you, with their own AI model. And I think the kicker that bothers a lot of people in this release is that they have mentioned that they're going to have a fleet of teleoperator folks managing this robot for more advanced tasks. So stuff like, hey, please clean my dishwasher, or put the dishes in my dishwasher, or put the dishwasher dishes that are clean in my thing. They mentioned that some of these tasks were going to be like the more complex task, and they will be teleoperator, which means a human somewhere will put on VR goggles and headsets and controllers and will teleport inside your robot when you want them to, and then we'll do those tasks for you. They do some of the privacy stuff. They blur out people's faces. They only do it on demand, so you will decide when this teleoperator thing comes. But humanoid, $20,000 or $500 a month rent in your home, teleoperate for the tasks. What do we think, guys? Who already purchased this thing? What do we think?
So I've already had a big conversation with my wife about this morning. And
yes.
And it's interesting because I think I see an exciting business opportunity, because imagine you buy a fleet of these things and you start a business that looks after people's pets while they're on holiday and waters their plants. You could deploy this thing. It's probably got a lifetime, I hope, of 15 years. So you're talking a little more than $1,000 a year for the asset. And honestly, I think this is going to be huge. Like I think there's a lot of people like, I want my plants watered and I want my pets not to die.
I think watering plants is one of the definite things they showed. They also showed that the gloves they have are plasticky, so it can like it wash itself, whatever. I don't know about the sweater thing, but because that's probably gonna get dirty. But I can absolutely see the pet sitter scenario for sure. But I want more than this, dude. I want my laundry folded while I'm here talking to you guys actively. And it seems like I will have to pay them to pay somebody else to actually perform this via VR versus paying somebody who comes to my house, like cleaners that I have. So that's a very interesting thing. I would just say a year ago, as a single AI forward tech person, I would absolutely click that buy button. Like I would smash that buy button. But now that I'm not alone in this house, there's privacy concerns, etc. And they're real. For many folks, they're real. They don't want like a random person teleporting into the house. Nistan, what do you think? Are you buying one?
Look, of all people who's worried about privacy is me, and I think people are thinking of this wrong. This is like a telepresence device. If I can't go somewhere, can I just send me this thing and have it drag around a luggage of battery? Also, if you have parents, grandparents to take care of, like you're already into their system and stuff, and they can't do something or they can't hook something up, and then you can just go in remotely through that. I think it's huge. I think people are just focusing wrongly on it's rightful, but I don't think that's the main business case. The main business case is we're going to have more seniors and younger people to take care of. Like now you can actually go and do that and fix their laptop and hook up dishwasher maybe. This is huge, like $20,000 just for that. And it's already on sale. This is a big
deal.
Achievement. And I like the fabric. I think the cats are going to love it.
Yeah, the fabric is dope. Don't get me wrong.
People
taking a bet that people don't want the futuristic, stylized humanoid that's like slick metal. Their whole UI is like wooden base, whatever. It's really nice. LDJ, you're joining us as well. Have you ordered one for yourself?
I have not yet. I think I may wait a few generations, but I have a friend that said he is actually gonna buy it. He actually said if it gets around 20K and made by a US company and it looks pretty decent, I'll get it. I said, hey, you said you're gonna get it. Are you gonna get it? And he said, yeah, he's gonna pull the trigger.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it'll be really fun. And when I visit some friends in San Francisco, I'm sure I'll see a bunch of people's houses with it.
I can't wait for one of those to just walk with me out of an Uber in San Francisco while I'm wearing a Vision Pro. And the Uber is actually a Waymo that drives itself. Like San Francisco is definitely the city where everything's happened. We're going to see a bunch of those in offices. We're actually probably going to buy one in our office, honestly. I think we've bought enough robotic dogs at the worth of one humanoid so we can just get one humanoid to walk around and bring drinks for people. Its carrying capacity is 55 pounds.
Look, this is what I'm asking. You guys want to buy it because you're developers, you want a developer kit. That's absolutely legit. But what I'm asking is for the average person, how autonomous...
I want to fold my clothes. I'm tired.
It depends whether or not how autonomous is it, or whether or not we're at the first step where it's only like remote controlled, which is absolutely fine. It's a first step to collect data and then make it autonomous. But yeah, you have someone driving, like holding the wheel, and who this person is going to be. Well, you don't want to fold your laundry, so. It's your laundry, it's in your bedroom, so...
I think they're very transparent about this. They're very transparent about the type of folks who buy this type of product at this point are not folks who are disillusioned by the fact that this is going to be fully autonomous. Folks understand that in order to have it learn the task, somebody needs to perform the task in your home. Your home has a very specific distance from where your dishwasher is to where you put the dishes. Your home is very specific type of clothes, type of laundry, type of where you put them, etc. The different closets. It has to learn. How it will learn? It will learn by people teleoperating. I also think that people would care less at some point. I think we'll get to a point where if those folks are vetted and 1X claims that all those folks are US based, then it wouldn't care as much. People wouldn't care as much. I'm going to show the robot itself. So 154 pounds lift, so it can lift stuff. It can lift stuff 3 times its size, crazy. And it can carry stuff that weighs almost as much as this. If they add just 10 pounds more to carry, one of these robots can carry another one of these robots. It's really funny. Early adopters ordered today. First delivery is expected in 2026. We're going to talk about 2026 in a bit. All right, folks, we're moving on. But we are very looking forward very much to when these robots are among us. And definitely. LDJ, you had one last comment, I think?
Yeah, I was going to comment on the situation with when they say the 1X experts are controlling the humanoid. They say that specifically for complex tasks where you would have to schedule a session with an expert and then they would go in at a specific time and teleoperate it. But it's not like randomly you're going to have people teleoperating your robot at random times.
Yeah. So obviously, fears aside, and obviously hot takes on X aside, you will have a teleoperated presence when you say it's like a schedule. I want you on Thursday morning while I'm on whatever, and you walk in. You have no walk-in zones, so you can't go into bathrooms or whatever. And you're gonna do dishes or you're gonna do laundry. Recapitalization announcement. This is a big one, folks. I'm very excited to talk about this. Is Wolfram also here? Hey, Wolfram, welcome. Ah, there we go.
Happy Halloween.
Oh my God.
Happy Halloween, Wolfram. Wait, hold on. Let's zoom on you to show the folks
happening?
what's going on over there.
Put on my makeup.
This is how Wolfram really looks, folks.
Yes. Other days I wear a mask.
I will just say all of the co-hosts got an invite to show up in costumes this Halloween, and Yam has the deal with the glasses.
Come on.
Yes.
Leave me alone.
All of the hosts got an invite to celebrate. All right, folks, with this introduction, let's move on to talk about the biggest news in the world of big companies. The biggest company of them all, maybe the fourth total biggest company, has finalized, or at least so they say, the recapitalization structure. So OpenAI now has ownership. It's a group, an OpenAI Foundation. OpenAI Foundation is the nonprofit that controls the OpenAI group. The group is called PBC, Public Benefit Company. It's worth a valuation of $500 billion. I think it's the biggest private company in this way. Here's the split between the ownership of OpenAI. Microsoft controls around 27%. Just so you think, yeah, it's working with this. Microsoft owns 27% of OpenAI. The nonprofit arm has around 26%. And is dedicated to actual like public benefit and goods. We're going to talk about this in a bit. OpenAI employees control like 26%, investors, whatever, blah, blah, blah. So this is the breakdown. Sam Altman, Jakub Puchotsky, and Wojciech Zaremba, who is a co-founder, have all joined the live stream and talked about this recapitalization effort. And here's the highlights of that conversation. I can probably pull up some clips, but I wish I brought you clips because some of this is just mind-boggling. So first of all, the new structure. OpenAI Foundation governs the OpenAI group, a public benefit company. It starts with 26% equity and it can go larger. So like it can grow based on their performance. The foundation can get more equity from the main company. One of the coolest things that they've announced that literally nobody talked about is $25 billion to use AI for curing diseases and launch AI resilience ecosystem. I think that's where they brought out Wojciech to talk about this. They will invest up to $25 billion into biorisk, mental health, and job shifts, like cybersecurity layer for AI era, basically is how my AI summarized this. But the job shifts thing is they talked about, like people will lose jobs because based on what they plan, based on ASI, this is going to be a big deal. I want to talk about this one at length, including a discussion on stage, please. They had the chief scientist of OpenAI, Jakub Puchotsky, I think is the last name. Yes, Puchotsky. Jakub basically said that, hey, at the rate we're going, at the rate we're seeing things improve, we are going to have an AI research intern, quote unquote intern, by September of next year. And by March 2028, we're going to have an AI researcher that essentially is comparable to a researcher that works on OpenAI, that currently the salaries range from, if you're not in San Francisco, this price would not make sense to you at all. AI researcher by March 2028. This is like their announcement that, hey, we're going to replace ourselves, or not replace ourselves, but we're going to build tools and we're going to build AIs that are going to help us in delivering what we need to deliver by next year as an intern, and by 2 years into the future, like a full-on AI researcher, which will then be able to get scaled by 1,000% just based on GPUs and achieve way, way more. At the rate we're going right now with human researchers, getting AI researchers at that level is insane. What do we think? Is this realistic?
Bro,
Tell me.
I just want to say, this is marketing talk, media talk, but not in the way you think.
Bro, chief
Like,
scientist,
have
they didn't
you
bring
guys
Jakub.
tested Codex right now? Have you played with Codex right now and saw what it can do? Have you tried giving it a very hard task and just walk away and see it do what it does? I am running Codex with GPT-5 High on I don't know, really expensive machines with GPUs, and it controls the GPUs and does what it wants. Go online, do a lot of AI research. I don't know about intern or not, which is why I'm saying it's media talk, because I'm not sure what the definition of an intern capability is, but it definitely can do a lot of AI research at the most things you do on daily basis. And so it's not far-fetched at all. I don't know about intern, PhD level, and so on, but yeah, it definitely will go autonomously researching advances in AI, because it already does a lot of this at the moment.
For folks who are just listening, just a second, Ryan. Just for folks who are just listening, Yam has his let's fucking go acceleration glasses on. Niston has them on. I just put mine on because this is the type of stuff we're talking about. OpenAI is sharing transparently their plans for the future, including their most ambitious plans, which we're going to talk about some gigawatt stuff as well. Ryan, go ahead.
I think we're going to see the beginning of specialized vertical agents completely take off, right? I speak from experience. Like I'm building a specialist agent for a specific job role right now, and it's real, right? If you're hyper focused on a specific role, specific goals and outcomes and guardrails, you can build this now. I think this is just the beginning, and we're going to see thousands of companies build vertical specific agents that will be very effective at jobs.
My point here to interject is it's our jobs. It's my job for sure, but like you guys are joining as well. It's our job to follow everything that happens in AI for the past 2.5 years, coming up on 3 years very soon, since GPT-4. It's getting harder and harder to keep up with whatever the heck is going on, and the speed is insane. We're now seeing open source models, tiny open source models with 10 billion active parameters beating the crap out of whatever GPT-4 was. GPT-4 was like huge back then, and now the model that you can probably run in your house is beating that by a wide margin. It's open source. And we've seen the scale, like a speed of acceleration from human researchers scaling up their human capabilities while getting sick, while getting moving between companies, famously to MSL, whatever. Not that they did anything so far, but we'll see. And the thing that people don't understand, I think Sean, one of the commenters here, highlighted this in the comment as well. People have a really hard time to understand exponential. When an AI researcher that launches from OpenAI, that's going to be AI researcher, that's going to be more like infinitely scalable as much as compute allows. We're going to talk about compute in a second.
People are talking about what's going to happen in the future. They are right now shipping social networks, browsers, app stores, video gen models, code editors, agent, frontier LLMs, open weights models, CLI tools. The same company. Was this even possible for any company a couple of years ago? Like, of course, there is automation already. It's accelerating because of this. They are using it themselves. Like, for sure, 100%.
How many people use spreadsheets?
Niston with the breaking news will not let Anthropic step into the big announcement about OpenAI. We're going to wait a little bit and we're going to talk about Anthropic. But I think this is huge because what you're saying is correct. OpenAI is shipping in incredible pace. OpenAI themselves. We have a corner dedicated to OpenAI almost every week. And this is people assisted by AI. This is not AI scalable. And when we're going to get to a point where it's like fully autonomous folks, it's going to be absolutely insane. It's so insane already. But hey, that's not more. That's not all. This is not all they talked about. They had LDJ. I promised to get to you before I move on about the AI researcher and about AI intern.
Yeah, so on that point, yeah, I do think it's quite realistic, and there's the whole aspect of, I feel like there's a lot of people that feel like, oh, even in the next 12, 18 months, we might have fully automated researchers and this fast takeoff and whatever. And while I think that's possible, I don't think it's the most likely. And I like people's enthusiasm and their optimism in that sense. But I think this does seem quite realistic, though. Brown has recently said, he had a tweet that said something along the lines of, I know people say Sam hypes things a lot, or that they feel like he vague posts or things like that, but his views that are publicly stated often match the median of what I see internally at OpenAI. And I imagine these public roadmap milestones that they're describing here, this does seem like it's a good or maybe even slightly conservative to the median of people at OpenAI and in the frontier labs.
They brought out Jacob, who's like chief scientist, and here's what he said. I'm going to read this quote verbatim. One consequence we discuss a lot there is AGI, artificial general intelligence. But we find that in some way, even this maybe understates a bit the magnitude of the possible progress and change there. And in particular, we believe that it is possible that deep learning systems are less than a decade away from superintelligence. So systems that are smarter than all of us, on a large number of critical axes. This is not like hype post. This is like chief scientist of the biggest public company, the top AI company, who's generally very conservative, and everything else that the people ask him, he was like evasive. This is like a straight discussion that's saying ASI is when we reach AGI, we don't care about anymore. We've seen this from other companies. We've seen this from Meta Superintelligence Labs. They talk about ASI, and the shift to ASI is very interesting. But we have to move on because all of this ASI is going to have to run somewhere. And there's two more things that they mentioned. One of them, OpenAI is moving into a platform company from a product company from just intelligence company. ChatGPT moves into AI cloud and platform. We also obviously saw the OpenAI account is now becoming a thing. You can log in with that account into Sora. You can log in into Atlas, the browser, Atlas browser, the self browser. They have devices. There are coming multiple devices they mentioned. They didn't mention which, but they mentioned it's going to be part of their stack. And then they will definitely move into the App Store era with productization. So like basically they're going to become a platform. They also will have user freedom and privacy stance. That's going to be interesting. And then all of this is going to be powered by infrastructure. And currently, they were very transparent about this. Like, it's very interesting. Already, over 30 gigawatts of compute are invested. Okay, so OpenAI right now is invested, commitment of up to 30 gigawatts of compute. Disclosure, I work for CoreWeave. That's part of this compute as well. There's a small disclosure there. But it's around $1.4 trillion in obligations for compute. I wanted to quickly understand with folks here on stage where the hell is the 1.4 trillion comes from, because we only tracked the 500 billion for Stargate and then another $500 billion with NVIDIA and SoftBank and like all of these. I don't know where the additional $400 million for compute came from. LDJ, you have a hand up from before, or is this a
no, yeah. So on this point, the original Stargate announcement mentioning $500 billion, that was for the initial. It was 5 or 10 gigawatts of compute that they announced. I want to say 10 gigawatts. Yeah,
around 10.
But they haven't fully given the total dollar amount for the extra gigawatts that they've committed since. But since that initial 10 gigawatt announcement, they've now mentioned total commitments adding up to, I think it's at least 26 gigawatts at this point.
30. Yep.
Yeah, closer to 30 probably. And so at that point, when you add up all that, it gets 1.4 trillion makes sense for that 30 gigawatts plus of compute. Yeah.
And then Sam Altman sits there, thanks to LJ, and basically says, hey, but this is not going to be enough. And so we have aspirations to get to a compute factory to a gigawatt a week at 20 billion, at the aspirational price of 20 billion per gigawatt, because right now it's like way more than this. 1 gigawatt a week. They want to get to a point where things generate things. He said, we may need to rethink our robotics strategy in order to achieve this. Again, I will say, after we just saw the 1X Neo humanoid robot in your home, and after we heard Space Uncle talk about the only way to achieve what they want to achieve is Optimus is building factories of Optimus, the build factories of Optimus that then can build some other stuff. Sam Altman mentioned that they aspirationally want to get to 1 gigawatt of compute stand up in a week. Gigawatt of compute is a lot of compute. The magnitudes for people are not like calibrating. I went to a data center not far from here. We had 8 megawatts here, which is what, 2 orders of magnitude less than a gigawatt. That can power up 3 hospitals. This is the type of what 8 megawatts of compute is. And that's around, I don't know, 64 H200 or something like this. 1 gigawatt is an insane number. And they want to get to 1 gigawatt a week.
Gigawatt can roughly power 1 million homes.
Yes. There's countries that have less like power than this. It's absolutely mind-blowing. The mentioned way to get there is we're going to have to rethink our robotics strategy. That's directly from Sam Altman. Small product notes as well. They're talking about the adult mode that's coming in December. Sam Altman started and said, hey, unfortunately, I misspoke on Twitter. I mentioned erotica. Everybody lost their minds. It's not like we're going to give you porn. But adult mode is coming. If you age verify yourself, OpenAI will give you a ChatGPT that's like better focused for you as well. No plans to sunset GPT-4 4.0, and until much better writer ships, 4.5 will stay on as well. So there's some answers from Sam Altman. Essentially, folks asked the questions about IPO, and then hundreds of billions of dollars a year per revenue is needed. Hundreds of billions of dollars per revenue is needed. We just saw yesterday Google, including Gemini Raise, talked about their first $100 billion quarter. So that's Google with all the 150 plus thousand people in Google's employ and whatever. So OpenAI is aiming really high. Basically, this is the update. What do we think?
Yeah, I think the short-term financial forecast that they've been putting out, or I think it's maybe like semi-confirmed because I think it's somewhat leaked to an extent, but it seems they're aiming for around $150 billion in revenue per year by 2029. And I think that's not even that crazy considering, as you just said, that Google right now, yes, Google's a very big company, of course, it's been around for longer, but they're already doing around $400 billion per year in revenue right now in its current state. And that's even like without that significant of a boost from AI. And it seems entirely possible of OpenAI like being this new powerhouse in American industry that I think it could also definitely reach like 200 billion revenue per year by the end of this decade. That seems realistic.
All right, folks, we got to move on. We got to land some of this down to realistics because some of this is like mind-blowing numbers. The gigawatt numbers are just like, they're not connecting. Like, honestly, it's really hard to impress how much of outsized power this is and what it will take to get to this power, including probably breakthroughs in energy, which Sam Altman refuses to keep talking about. Folks, I think that's coming. I literally asked him directly, hey, Sam, where's the power is going to come from? He said, we're not ready to talk about this yet. On the live stream, they had a outline of how things are happening. Energy was a big piece there. I wish I had the visuals to show you. I don't. They said we're not ready to talk about energy yet, but like we should remember Sam Altman is invested in Helion, the company that does fusion for energy, and the current energy grids in the US cannot contain this growth. Definitely not with this level of gigabytes. Maybe there's some stuff that we don't know. Let's move on. Let's move on to actually touch grass. Cursor 2.0, folks. I'm really excited to talk about Cursor. Who wants to cover this? Ryan, I think you got excited about this first. Go ahead.
We're starting to see agent labs train their own models, do RL, and they're designed for SWE. And we're seeing great results. And I think the new composer model is very fast and good. I will always be honest and straightforward about these things. Like, this is clearly a competitor to AMP, but it's good. And competition is good. So that's exciting. The other interesting thing is that they have an agent view, which you're showing us right now.
Yes.
And the idea here is that you're really managing a fleet of agents. And they've got some cool features here, right? So you can spin up an agent with work trees out of the box. So you don't have to set that up, which is great because that's hard. And this is exciting. So excited about this. I will say the reason why I switched off of Cursor is because the UI is a lot, right? I love working from the CLI, right? So I have a TUI and I have NeoVim. And to me, that is easier, but some people like all the UI here. That's my drive-by thoughts on it.
Thank you, Ryan. Great thoughts for sure. Like, two main things. Cursor 2.0, the new kind of Cursor, whatever, focused on multiple agents that you can run. While this one runs, I can kick off another agent. This is new to Cursor. Second of all is this UI looks like ChatGPT, folks. This is literally for folks who are just listening. The new one does not even look at code. Like what the new one looks like ChatGPT, and because they understand that many people into vibe coding, they don't really care about code anymore. They care about code when there's changes, and they have the like changes implemented here. But basically, this is how the UI is going to look. They have the agent, and then you're going to click, and then you're going to show the editor kind of changes on the right, and that's it. But also, this is just on the Cursor side. They also released Composer, which is their new model, Ryan, as you mentioned. They mentioned a Composer combines strong coding intelligence with best-in-class speed, and they show the comparison. I don't love evals like this. Shout out to Cursor, of course, for what they're doing in building. But evals that don't show me comparisons to other models are effectively useless to me. So these are like marketing graphs because they're showing best open source, fast frontier models, frontier to July of 2025. I don't know why they chose July. And then the best frontier models that include like GPT-5 and Cursor 3 4.5. And they show Composer somewhere just behind best frontier models, but significantly faster than best frontier models. The speed is great. They're showing themselves to be best at speed. But yeah, this comparison is not great. And apple-to-apple comparison is also impossible when you post like this. But hey, both Cursor and Windsor, which we're going to cover in a second, are moving to building their own models as well. Any other comments from folks here?
Yeah, I just want to say their entire site just got a remake, and you can feel the new web of the site. I really like that we see this shift of all the major agent product. The product is an agentic system. You can strap the agentic system into an IDE for sure, but it's first and foremost an agent that does stuff with your computer, and you can launch. Now it's absolutely obvious. You have a UI that just launch agents, swarm of agents to do stuff. And this is separate from the IDE. That's the main thing. I just want to highlight, we had an announcement from them a month ago that they do on policy online RL on the users themselves while they are running. And now a month later, we get a new model, which I don't have a solid benchmark. That's not nice out of Cursor, not to be transparent about the actual benchmark, just aggregate frontier or like we're faster. Okay, but so I don't know how it performs, but it's really cool to see that small players are now fine-tuning or even online RLing their models, which is wild, by the way. And we see it in production. It's really cool. I didn't have time to test it yet, so I don't have anything to say.
I agree with everything you said besides the small player, Cursor, but their valuation is insane. They're making $200 million in revenue.
I just want to say, people are really mad online about these benchmarks. Oh, you got to keep in mind, it's very competitive now. So there's going to be a lot of online beef between different providers, but people are pretty mad that there's no public benchmark. The results are private. No one else can test it, and no one else can see the results or run their own test on it. So it's just like a made up test to get more sales. But as far as the model itself, it did show some pretty promising things. A lot of people feel like it's very small. People are suspecting it might even be like a Quen 30B 3 active fine-tune by their guesses.
Oh, you think it's a fine-tune?
Yeah, of course it's a fine-tune. I would bet like 99 times out of 100 that it is a fine-tune.
But you're acting like that's badness, and that's actually good. That means that we'll see more.
Great.
It's going to be better, yeah. But people tried it, so shout out to Alpindale. He tried to get it to build a whole operating system and kernel from scratch. And he's like, yeah, it feels like it's pretty smart with the tool calling, but he had to go in and use Sonnet and Opus to actually fix stuff in the end. So it is very well trained for the tool calling. I think these are best paired with other models. People feel like Cursor is like very overpriced for it's more profit play than anything else. But it is fast. It does get stuff done. So yeah, this is more of an enterprise get sales play rather than actually that good. That's my take on it.
All righty, we're going to do a super quick this week's buzz to tell you about some exciting stuff about Weights and Biases CoreWeave. And then we're going to talk about Cognition's model that came out the same day yesterday as Cursor's model. We're going to chat about some tools, cover multimodal a lot. So stay with us. We're going to have video and voice and very exciting examples of some of those. For now, we're going to move to this week's buzz. Alrighty, folks, super quick announcement about this week's buzz. This week's buzz is a category on ThursdAI that we talk about everything that happens in Weights and Biases, but also our parent company CoreWeave. And this week has breaking news, like an hour ago news from the parent company CoreWeave, as we've announced that we have made an acquisition decision of this company called Merimo. If you haven't heard about Merimo is basically a notebook, open source notebook compared to like Python notebooks, and it's been growing in popularity among multiple incredible folks in the areas of machine learning and data science, specifically for AI, ML development, STEM, etc. So shout out to the MiniMax folks on joining CoreWeave. I'm very excited to have them join, because I think this again highlights the way that CoreWeave is thinking about the essential cloud for AI. It's not only GPUs that they serve and they save to bigger companies. There's now weights and biases for machine learning. There's Weave for AI engineers. There's OpenPipe for Argil training, there's WB Inference for AI engineers, and now we're getting to notebooks as well that will run on this hardware, but also will be able to use some of the other tools in conjunction. So I'm very excited. Welcome to the Merimo team that I haven't talked with yet. I'll definitely hope to bring them on here to talk to you about Merimo and why it's cool and why you should use this against other notebooks. In additional news, fullyconnected.com in London. Connected is our premier conference, and you're going to get to see from the Weights and Biases folks, a bunch of folks from Mistral are going to show there, a bunch of folks from different European countries as well. We have tons of speakers there, and we are inviting you to both days and multiple tracks. We have keynotes from GSK, we have folks from Google and Mistral and Llama Index and a bunch of other folks to come and talk to us about what's going on. And I think the closing keynote is from Wavy, the autonomous driving company. So definitely worth checking that out and coming. If you need tickets, find me fullyconnected.com for the registration. We hope to see you there if you're in Europe. This is the update from Weights and Biases. The last thing that I will say, AI Engineer Code Summit is in New York, November 19 to 22, and I'm going to be there. We have a big booth, and Ryan's going to be there. They have a booth as well. We're going to be very excited to welcome you guys and talk about our offerings for the AI engineers who code with AI intelligence. So very looking forward to meet some of the listeners there. As always, AI Engineers is a place where a lot of us who listen to the show and a lot of us who enjoy the show are meeting up. Very much looking forward to that. With this week's buzz, I'm very excited to welcome the Merimo folks, and let's move on to video and audio folks. I think there's a lot to talk about there. Alrighty, so we're back, and we're gonna have a few more guests. Hopefully, I think Swix was supposed to join at some point to talk about Cognition. We'll see if that's gonna happen. I will just mention this in case he doesn't join. The same day yesterday that Cursor released their update, and they told us a new model. Cognition, that now owns Windsurf, the other competitor in the agentic IDEs, which I don't even know what to call Cursor anymore, because it's an IDE, it's an agent platform. I don't know, Ryan.
Call it Agent Lab.
Agent Lab. They're all converging, basically. And so Windsurf is one of those folks who are converging as well. And they have announced their own model, basically. This model is called SWI 1.5. If you guys remember, a few weeks ago, Swix was here. Swix, our friend from Latent Space, and he now works with Cognition. And he said that he talked to us about their SWI grep product that's super fast. That was powered by Cerebrus. Cognition's agent model is also now powered by Cerebrus, and you can see SWI 1.5 is around 950 tokens per second, while achieving a whopping 40% on SWI Bench Pro. It gets very close to Sonnet 4.5 at 43%. 950 tokens per second versus 69. Obviously, a bunch of the speed up comes from the Cerebrus integration, and also they have a harness there that's called Cascade, which is their agentic sidebar, and that one is achieving a very high SWI Pro score with 40%, which is, it's quite crazy. I think the speed here is the craziest one. They trained this model, hundreds of billions of parameters, built on the latest GB200 cluster. I really want to get Swix in here to talk about this. Model optimized with end-to-end RL, real coding environments and Cognition. As we've talked about before, multiple times, reinforcement learning is big. And especially for these models, especially for verifiable outputs where you can run things in environments and have them actually achieve something, test that something, say, okay, this is the right way to go about agentic approach to code, send it back to the training and keep training on this. These loops are what causing these the huge speed ups. But obviously, again, the speed is the highlight here. So shout out to Cognition about the model. And we're moving on to video. Wolfram, I think should we show folks Odyssey? I think you mentioned Odyssey.
We definitely should. It was so cool to see that. It made me smile, and anything that makes me smile, we should show, I think.
Yeah, Odyssey was
highlights of the week, actually.
It was, and thank you, Wolfram, for reminding me. Folks, we talk to you about video models all the time. We're going to mention High Luo. This is how to say this, High Luo 2.3, which is like a updated realism. And these models, most of them take 5 to 10 to 15 to 20 minutes to generate, right? So we can take a look at the new Hilo, for example, and you're probably not going to hear this, but here's like a video. We've come to expect this level of motion from AI videos. Maybe there's like some improvements in the motion here. Definitely a crazy release from Hilo with the turbo model as well. But even the turbo model here will obviously look, the level of detail here is absolutely insane. So maybe I should pause here in a second and talk about actually Hilo. But they released Hilo and Hilo Fast, and Fast is like 50% faster than the previous. Shout out to them for this release. But Odyssey is a completely different beast. So this model and the Sora model, all these models, they take a while to generate videos. Odyssey, let me go to Odyssey super quick. Hopefully they will let me in because they have a queue. We're in line. We're first in line. Okay. Odyssey is a completely different beast, folks. When you go to Odyssey, you get like a little bit of a time and you get this like TikTok-ish interface of the videos. But here's the kicker. You can imagine anything that you want, and I will let the co-host here shout out different wild ideas of what we're going to render.
An army of robots in a starship corridor.
Of robots in a starship corridor. All right, starship. Let me make sure that I'm typing so it will get it. Once I hit enter, you can see this start streaming immediately. Do you see this happening immediately, folks? Fast. Now, obviously, the fidelity of this is not as much as what we just saw in Hilo or Sora, but it's compared to the Stable Diffusion ones, for example, it's really good. This is the fidelity. Yeah, but here's the kicker. This is a live streaming video that shows something like, it shows suggestions of what to do. And here's the kicker, folks. This is a real-time interactive video. What does interactive video even mean? You can say, turn these robots into fluffy covered cat robots. And you hit enter, and they will start streaming this change almost immediately, and you see the cat robots. Now, again, you can see the little glitches, folks. You can see these robots turning into cat robots like immediately. And then you can like completely change the scene. Here's an additional thing that I love about this thing. When you click, let's imagine another model. Let's look at this ladybug, for example, okay? This is a ladybug on a leaf with some rain. Then we can say there's suggestions here. When you click on the leaf, it understands that point and shows me suggestions about grow the plant or splash the water. When you click on the ladybug, it shows me ladybug flies away. Let's click on ladybug flies away. And supposedly the ladybug will now fly away. Folks, this is interactive video. This is mind-blowing.
What is this thing, man? What do we know about this?
I know if we know a lot. I've asked Oliver Cameron, one of the folks, to come and join us, and Oliver will hopefully join in the future session. But I just want to like show, again, how fun it is to control videos. These are short videos, they're looped, but still, this is a pride of lions in the African savannah. And we can just say, you can either type or click. We can say, turn the lions into sheep.
Joseph has a nice comment, and he says Odyssey speed makes it highly useful for a tutorial scenario or fabricating a story to explain complex topics.
Yeah, 100%. And I just want to highlight the fact that, okay, we're seeing this, the fidelity is here is pretty good. Look at this doggy. And then we can add this dog to get him a robo dog friend. And we'll see like another dog step in. The fidelity of the dog is not too bad at all. It's not, it's not as high quality as other like big labs, but this is live streaming video. This is absolutely insane, folks. So I'm just like very excited about this. Wolfram, any other comments about Odyssey?
Yeah, so the quality when you do it, you see it's not as usable as the other bigger models like Sora or Vio, but it's so much fun. Just show it to your kids and have them make a story and create the video for that. So it's a glimpse at what we will have in a couple of years when you have really interactive shows or something like that.
Yeah.
You can change anything just by prompting it.
I'm still dumbfounded about this. I'm like, this is so fun to play around, folks. It's free for now. You can just join this. It's free, and then you get 7 minutes a piece, and then you can just keep going. You can keep scrolling between videos and try them in a different setting. It's really fun. I recommend you all to go ahead and try this. And yeah, this is just absolutely, this is Odyssey ML. This is absolutely stunning. Alrighty, folks, we're going to move on because I think this is the highlight of the video. Sora 2 is now free without invites. You have to pay for ChatGPT, but Sora is invite free. And character cameos are really big there. Let me actually show you character cameos super quick. And then we're going to chat about voice, and we have another guest here to talk about voice with. So in Sora, you can now have character cameos. What does that mean? Before, you had to scan your face and then create a cameo like I did. But now you have this button that says create a character, and you can create a character of anything that's not human. You can upload different AI generated images. You can upload your pets, which I promptly did. This is Sonia, by the way. I can show you the resemblance. If you guys see Sonia in the middle, hold on one second. I'll show you actual Sonia.
Sonia's going to be famous now.
Yes. So this is my actual cat. This is Sonia making her first appearance on ThursdAI. Can you say hi?
She's cute.
She's cute. She's super sleepy. So I just woke her up. She doesn't understand what's going on. But this is her cameo. Let me show you her cameo super quick. This is her cameo. And the pumpkin that she eats isn't also an actual pumpkin that I scanned and turned into a cameo. So this pumpkin can show up on its own on different places.
Can you make a code to the cat theme, just like ramming at the keyboard?
Yes, I'm pretty sure I can. And I think the highlight there is that these like cameos will turn into potential IP for people. Many folks will add their own cameos and then people can use them and there will not just be people. I think it's like super, super cool. So this is an update from the Sora team. Alrighty, folks. So this is an update from Sora team. And now I want to invite Arjun. Give me a second, folks, to talk to us about the latest release as well. So I'm gonna add Arjun here to the stage and welcome Arjun. Hold on, let me switch the setting here so that it's gonna be great. I don't think we can hear you though. Let's test this out.
How about now?
Yes, there we go.
Awesome.
Alrighty, folks. I want to welcome Arjun from Cartesia for the second time on the pod. I think you guys have been there before a while ago with Cartesia just launched, and would love for you to give us the kind of this week's news about what you guys released, what launched, and to talk about some exciting stuff about Cartesia.
Yeah. No, thanks, Alex. I appreciate you having me on again. Yeah, this week, Cartesia, we launched Sonic-3. So it's the most natural, most controllable real-time voice AI model. Really, the bread and butter of building this model was really about how do we give developers the level of quality, control, and speed that you need for interactive applications. So I think, yeah, this demo is super cool. You can play around with it on our playground as well as like on our website. Maybe, Alex, if you want to, I don't know if it'll play the audio, but
yeah, I think it'll play. Yeah. Hold on, let's see.
Oh, wow. Valentine's Day snuck up on you. Don't worry. We'll get you a table. No problem. Let's make it special.
Yeah, so I think it's really cool to be able to get to a point where everyone is trying to build in voice AI. I think it took off huge over the last year and a half. And a lot of folks are really trying to build in the voice agent space very naturally. And I think the piece that was really missing is when you have really fast models, you don't really often get the same level of quality or controllability that you want, right, for building these kinds of agents. I think we solved that problem with Sonic-3. I think Cartesia has always been known for building incredibly fast models. Our team is responsible for building state space models, which was the alternative to transformers a while back. It's taken off a lot over the last 2-3 years, Mamba being maybe one of the most popular ones. We also wanted to show that, hey, look, latency is not all of it. There's much more beyond that, things that people care about, and you don't need the trade-off. You can build with all of the characteristics. So it's pretty.
So Arjun, you jumped the gun here a little bit, but I wanted you thankfully helped me to create my own professional clone, which is you guys offer an instant clone with 10 seconds of audio. For the professional one, you need to upload 2 hours or whatever. Luckily, I'm a professional yapper, so I had 2 hours on my first one to go and send it. And so I actually generated my own voice, and I wanted to have it ask a question from you folks. From now on, the AI Alex is talking, or at least for the next sentence. All right, Arjun, thanks for that. Can you speak about why it's so fast?
Yeah, no, that's awesome. How do you?
That's pretty good.
Yeah. One of the things that we introduced with Sonic-2 was a super high quality instant voice cloning feature. And then we extended it to pro voice cloning, which is what Alex is using here. To answer that question, going back to state space models, fundamentally, when we think about transformers, especially in cases of long context, your compute and memory scale radically. Similar to a database, you're remembering every single token you've ever seen, and then you're trying to do some kind of computation between all previous tokens in order to figure out what token you should generate next. State space models operate a little bit differently. Actually, they're inspired by recurrent models, which have this fundamental idea of memory, right? So if you think about the human brain, it's remembering every single token that ever existed in your life, but you've compressed it into these memories that you're able to pull from, reconstruct from. And I think that's a huge reason why you get this. There's a primary reason why you don't scale that radically. It's like a linear scaling. Yeah, I think you can definitely geek out about some of the details there.
Let's geek out about this next thing. Hold on. Yeah. Again, AI Alex is going to speak. Yeah, that's awesome. Can it also speak Russian,
и также упомянул вещи, связанные с переключением между языками код-свитчингом.
This is very interesting because when I trained this model, I trained it on a bunch of English text. And then I think you guys mentioned multilingual support as well was extended. And also the code switching thing, which I'm going to joke a little bit here. I don't love. And the reason why I don't love this, Arjun, and then I will have your thoughts on this as well.
Yeah.
Is as somebody who speaks multiple languages, 3 interchangeably with multiple folks in our household, the way that I told them to test whether or not it's a real Alex or not, to not trust the voice anymore, is to kind of code switch immediately. So if I ask a question in one language, they would answer in another, and then we'd both understand that, hey, this is like some AI bullshit. It doesn't. And now you guys added code switching, and now this technique of mine does not work anymore. So two things about this. One, multilingual support, code switching. Please talk about this. How do you guys see the move away from what's real in terms of voices, of everything that can be said can be cloned? And you guys obviously we're professional yappers, we have a public podcast, but you guys also have some audio of yours out there, and yours can also be cloned very well based on your technology. So would love two responses to this.
Yeah, you said it really well. Sonic-3, we expanded the set of languages that we support. We have 42 languages now, 43 including English, that we support, and hundreds of dialects, right? I think one of the beautiful things about language is that even if the syntactical grammar may be shared, it's very different in things like pronunciation, intonation, prosody, depending on where in the world you go and speak. I think what we really found quite exciting, especially for the research problem, which often gets me excited, is how do you really generalize these different concepts of language and interactions that we have across different ways that people are actually trying to the systems that we're building. Multilingual was actually one of the ones that stood out very clearly because everyone around the world is not just speaking English. In order to reach the large population that exists outside of English speakers, we have to generalize across multiple languages and multiple dialects. But on top of that, you also don't want to take away from the essence of how certain languages are spoken, right? So folks that, are multilingual, are able to speak in multiple languages, have a very particular way of speaking it. And we want to give a level of flexibility and control to say, hey, you want to preserve that accent, right? You want to make sure that it's not sounding super, you've anglicized the accent just because you're speaking English or something. So that's part of what we wanted to preserve in the experience as well. Pretty interesting research problem. I think there's a very different way of thinking about where is the signal coming from, the prompts that you're giving it. And so it's pretty cool to be able to see that in action.
Yeah, you guys also introduced laughter control and emotion control via tags. And laughter is very interesting because a lot of the stuff that we say, you can hear the intonation of how I say this, whether or not I just laughed before this or about to laugh after this. As I'm smiling, you can literally, like folks who analyze speech can hear the differences when somebody's happy versus sad, etc. So emotion control, laughter, talk about this a little bit and how this applies, how this shows up, how this is trained for.
Yeah, so I think when we think about, again, you said it really well, which is when we think about emotion or these like nonverbal cues, it's not just the cue that like you're like trying to speak out, right? It's like you're changing the full intonation of the sentence. The way that you ask a question might change if you're angry versus if you're actually curious. And so being able to like almost deconstruct what does it mean to be like sad and happy and being able to qualify that and allow it to work with a bunch of different transcripts, not just quote unquote the ones that were like used at train time, I think is like a very interesting problem. And so like this disentanglement almost is like really critical for being able to give people the level of control that they want. I think that also warrants how do we actually think about building a system that allows people to have the kinds of levers, right? Emotion control is great. These laughter, nonverbalism cues are great, but there's a bunch of other controls that I think we're really excited about building into Sonic that will be really useful for a lot of voice applications. I think it's interesting. A lot of people are trying to build in this direction of how do I get my voice to sound so natural, right? There's a lot of customer support companies, right? The Sierra, Decagons, Crestas of the world are doing amazing stuff, right? When we're thinking about voice and how they're able to like build these experiences around customer support. And what they talk about is like, we're really trying to like build the level of control so that our developers can also be able to use these systems in the way that reflects their brand. So we're like, we'll give you that power, right? We build the models. We're happy to take that ownership and we're excited to see kind of what the world builds with it.
That's perfect. Ryan, go ahead.
Arjun, it's cool that you're here because I was literally looking at Cartesia and Sonic-3. I'm like, oh, wow, cool. So Alex, props to you for getting all the right people on the show. So I'm going to talk as a developer, less about the tech and how you train the models and more, okay, I want to use this stuff. I'm building an agent. We're specializing in the legal tech space. So make your pitch. Like as a dev, like why should I switch? I was looking at your TypeScript SDK. Just talk to me about how easy it is to set up an agent that is pure voice if I'm on Next.js.
Yeah.
And then the cost comparison.
No, that's a great question. I think my background is, of course, in the research side, but I care a lot about the engineering. I'd say at Cartesia, that's in our blood as well. We have a really strong product team whose entire ethos is how do we build the right experience for the developer. You have the TypeScript library, right? We have a bunch of SDKs that we built for our APIs. I think getting started with TTS, honestly, probably should not take you more than 5 minutes. If it does, ping me. We need to fix that, right? I think it should not take more than that. We work with a lot of great partners to make sure that folks are able to build with our TTS. Like we have integrations right into Daily, PipeChat, LiveKit, et cetera. Yeah, if you're finding it hard to build, I think we have not done our job. So just let me know.
Yeah,
I'll just shout out Daily and PipeCat both. Quinn Kramer is a great friend of the show, one of the top real-time voice folks that we have. And it's a great testament to the library quality that is built in open source. Like every model maker like integrates into them once they release.
I did not know about you all until I feel like it was yesterday. I was on X. I'm like, oh my God, this looks interesting, exciting. It's hard for me to believe you're this good and this affordable when I've never heard of you. So help me understand why. Why should we all trust you then?
Yeah, we've been building this technology for over a year and a half, particularly in audio, like for Sonic specifically. We've been building this tech since our PhD. So all of the fruits of the labor that you're seeing in Sonic today, we started about 8 years ago to build the right tech to power these kinds of applications. I'm glad you finally heard of us. I think that means we did our launch, hopefully. Really excited. I think it's just really exciting to see people build in this space. I think that's what we really want to empower. And so making that at a price point that people can afford and being able to build systems that actually feel like what they want to do, I think that's what we're after.
I think worth mentioning also Albert and his access to all this. I think he's one of the co-founders of, one of the authors of Transformer Alternatives.
So Albert is our mega mind. He's done incredible amount of research. I call him the godfather of state-space models in modern machine learning. He's the one that actually spent years of his PhD building out the fundamentals behind the technology that we have. I think it's super exciting to see, and he also gets really excited about this, is a lot of the fundamental first principles way that we think about research actually has downstream impacts on the way that we build the systems and things that people can use. And being able to see that we've already had a large number of customers trust us that we're able to build with and partner with to build amazing experiences, we're really just excited to keep growing that and then also keep pushing the research that will enable new experiences moving forward.
So I think just to, Arjun, thanks so much for joining us again. It's great to have you here. You guys are doing great work. We all played with some of these models. I think you're talking about like 49 milliseconds latency to the first token or something.
Yeah, that's the turbo.
That's insane. It's insane. It really is something. It's very similar. Like we just talked about Odyssey and like live streaming video to you. Hitting that button and getting instant response is just like unbelievable. And building bots with some of this intelligence plus some of the faster intelligences that we have really makes you think about the stuff that Quinn Kramer talks to us about, where there's real-time models that do everything, but they're like definitely smaller and stupider than the production models. And now with this TTS text-to-speech on the other side, you can get, with this latency, you can get as close to real time as possible while also getting the benefit of switching the models, adjusting, fine-tuning, etc. So really cool. I want to highlight, Arjun, thank you so much for joining us. I want to highlight that what's possible now to use with these models. I want to show a little segment I've prepared using Argil. So shout out to Argil. I think they use Vio. This is a segment that I prepared. Basically had the LLM summarize our show here, fed it to Cartesia with my voice that Arjun helped me create, and then led to Argil. I haven't seen this yet. It's a minute and a half. Let's take a look together. It's probably going to be wonky, but it just shows what's possible without spending that much time into it. So shout out to Argil as well.
Happy Halloween! I'm Alex Volkov, and tonight on ThursdAI October 30th, I'm joined by Wolfram, Yam, Nissan, and LDJ.
And Ryan.
For a candy
And
bag of
Arjun.
updates. We'll unwrap MiniMax M2, an agentic/code model that's about 2 sonnets speed at roughly 8% of the cost, then OpenAI's GPT-off safeguard and IBM Granite 4.0 Nano for tiny but mighty efficiency. We'll even peek into robots with 1X's Nenio, a consumer humanoid you can actually pre-order, and recap OpenAI's restructuring and roadmap, foundation governance, the ASI within a decade claim, and timelines from an AI research intern in 2026 to an autonomous researcher by 2028, plus platform shifts like Atlas, devices, and product notes. On the dev side, Cursor 2.0 with Composer for parallel agentic coding, Cognition SBA 1.5 now in Windsurf, and Perplexity Email Assistant for a privacy-forward AI inbox. In vision and video, Sora goes in bike-free with character cameos and leaderboards, and MiniMax's Helio 2.3 pushes realism reimagined. In voice, MiniMax Speech 2.6 hits sub 250 ms conversations, and Cartesia Sonic-3 brings low latency emotion and even laughter for truly natural delivery. Yes? Really? Plus quick hits on Poki's agentic workflow builder and Google's Pomeli marketing agent, and our this week's buzz on fully connected London and AI engineer.
And Marimo.
It's dense, fast, and a little spooky.
One shot.
Yes,
That was pretty great.
Whoa.
Here's the
Wow.
process of what happened here. I took the notes that I prepared for the show. I dumped it into ChatGPT to give me a script. I then asked ChatGPT to go to Cartesia, figure out their prompting techniques, because Cartesia has specific pausing things. It's very important to pause when you speak, something I keep forgetting, but it's really important when you write a script to keep pausing. And so I asked it to go find Cartesia's Sonic-3 model, then dump this into Cartesia with my voice that was created, I think, last night for a couple hours. And then I took that audio, dumped it into Argil, which was trained on my face. So not one shot in terms of just provide one image. I prepared some of these assets beforehand, but the whole generation was one shot. And I think it's incredible. And it sounds like me, not entirely, but it's very close to sounding like me. Sounding like me is hard. I have 3 mixes of, I think it's one of the highest level fake Alexes that I've been able to achieve so far, for sure. And this has been done again with Argil. Nobody pays me to do this, and Cartesia. None of these folks sponsor me besides giving me some access to their systems and some credits. So this was really great. Very spooky for a very spooky Halloween, folks. So with this, I think we've covered almost everything. Besides the fact that, folks, it is Halloween, and we just showed the ability to clone your voice, clone your video, have videos, clone your pets, clone your pumpkins. We showed coding companies getting into releasing their own models. We also showed new models releasing that are like half the size of the previous models that outperform them. As we look at Wolf from here, we realize that this is the Halloween type thing. But we are not here to spread scare about AI. We're here to spread positivity. I think everybody else here, we believe that like AI is built and is going to achieve great number of things, including powering humanity to achieve things we haven't achieved before. So on this very spooky Halloween, I want to say like nothing that we saw today frightens me to the point of like, oh no, let's pause. And not that it's possible to pause anyway. But I did want to wish you a great Halloween for those of you who celebrate, and mention that we'll be here next week as well to cover the next week of the show. So the last comment that I have is, if you missed any part of the show, which we had a great show today with 2 conversations with the folks who are actually building the stuff. Cartesia raised $100 million round, and this is part of the reason why they were in news. Congratulations, by the way, to Cartesia. And OpenAI is talking about multiple billions of dollars in revenue, multiple hundreds billions of dollars in revenue. I'm talking about gigawatts of compute. Where we're going is absolutely insane, and we're very happy to be here to cover this for you, to condense this noise into Signal, to send it directly to you. So if you missed any part of the show, some folks were asking about show notes. If you missed any part of the show notes and everything we talked about is going to be published on ThursdAI.news. So please subscribe to that, share it with your friends. ThursdAI.news is where we publish our podcast and our news, and basically the edited form of this. With that, if you missed anything, subscribe, give us 5 stars, and we'll see you here next week. Bye-bye, everyone. And bye-bye, folks.